Where facilities are designated by gender, students must be provided access to gender-specific facilities in alignment with their consistently asserted gender identity. So in other words, kid goes to school, say it's a boy, decides he identifies as a girl, now can use the girls' restroom. Okay, that's their gender identity, how they define themselves. They do say that a student who's uncomfortable using a shared facility because of safety, privacy, or other reason should, upon request, be provided with a safe and non-stigmatizing alternative, such as a single bathroom or a privacy partition. The problem with this is it will be stigmatizing. It will be stigmatizing because if somebody comes forward, and we know this, if a student comes forward and says, little girl comes forward and says, I'm uncomfortable with someone with male, anatomy, coming into the bathroom, that little girl is going to be labeled, there's something wrong with her. They're going to send her to counseling. The bullet point even says that. We're going to get to that in a second. Other, friends of hers are going to say, well, why do you care? Are you, the words bigoted, you'd be surprised, are going to be thrown around at schools in front of little kids because all these talking points come from adults. They simmer down and suddenly now this little girl who's uncomfortable is going to be stigmatized. I will guarantee you it will happen 100%. When I got to the bottom is where I got a little twisted, and I teased that just a moment ago. Some students may feel uncomfortable with a transgender student using the same sex-specific facility, right? School administrators and counseling staff members should work with the students to address their discomfort, to foster understanding of gender identity, and to create a school culture that respects and values all students. So they're going to put a girl, say, I'm just using a girl as an example, because I think in a lot of cases this is how it's going to manifest. Little girl is going to say, I'm uncomfortable. Someone with male anatomy coming into the bathroom with me, and they're going to send her to counseling. Think about it. You have a daughter. I mean, I'm just saying, these kids they're just expressing stuff that's not comfortable for them. And now that kid's going to have to be put in counseling as if there's something wrong with her. And this is, in the meantime, she's saying to herself, I don't care how old she is. Well, this is how it's always been. This is like, it doesn't seem right to me. I don't want to look at like little boys' stuff. You know how kids are. It's always been like the girls' team, that they're used to a certain way of things going down, and they're not comfortable. Okay. The other thing that's interesting to me is what's worded here. This discomfort is not a reason to deny access to the transgender student. So they've decided now that little girl, her discomfort is not as important as the discomfort that might occur in the mind of a transgender student who wasn't able to access the bathroom that matched his or her gender identity, the way they identify. This is a problem. It's going to be a problem for parents. I think it's going to be a problem for kids. I think it's going to get deeply concerning, particularly when we're talking about little girls. I think really there's going to be concerns about, different age brackets. Are you going to want your little girl? Remember, this whole debate popped up several years ago. Are you going to want, your little girls in 6th grade going into the bathroom with an 8th grade, based on biology and based on anatomy, boy who identifies as a girl? These are legitimate concerns that people will have. They're valid concerns. And again, listen, this is not a debate. I'm going to say it again because I always get people say, oh, you're a bigot. This is not a debate about adults and adult behavior. You're dealing with kids. You're dealing with schools who are pushing a certain agenda. That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about live and let live. We're not talking about any of that. Parents, at home, weigh in. Are you concerned about this pattern? This is not going to be the first school and it's not going to be the last school. Are you concerned about this pattern of what's going on in schools as it relates to your son, your daughter? Please get in the chat. Let us know. I'll have Natalia check back. I'm curious if this is something that's concerning to you. Don't forget to subscribe, to hit like. Love graphic, as you know. But please let me know, because I hear from parents all the time that are worried about this, and they're not bigots and they're not trying to hurt anybody, but they are concerned about their children who are vocalizing discomfort and seem to have no support within the school structure in which to vocalize that, short of being sent to counseling and being labeled, I don't know, something wrong with her. She's not adapting to 2022 culture. That's where it's going.
What advice would you give to anybody who maybe, like parent-wise, who is agreeing with you? What advice would you give to them talking to their kids? Like if this was happening to Hartley, like how would you speak to Hartley in a sense of like, what's going on? Like, how would you have a conversation like that?
I think it depends on the age of the child too. Like parents have to be ready to have that discussion.
Say they're in 5th grade. They're pretty,
you're going to, and that's the thing. These conversations are going to happen oftentimes earlier than you want them to happen because these things are happening kindergarten now. Like there's things that are changing rapidly with very, very young children. So I think parents are going to have to just accept that if you're sending your kids particularly to public school, or in even private school settings, in many cases, you're going to have these discussions early. So I think you have to be honest about what's going on. I think you have to allow your child to express any discomfort. I think you have to be very involved. Homeschooling is booming now for a reason because people distrust these systems. They distrust the systems. They feel like they're being locked out because they are as parents. They don't like that there's an agenda. They don't like that one kid, his safe space is more important than this kid's safe space. Maybe they don't like that there are safe spaces at all. They don't understand what's going on here with all of this woke stuff. But I think that I would probably have a real conversation and say, this is, first of all, my kid would not be in a school that, had woke propaganda going on in the school. That would not be happening. And parents also know what's going on in the school. Go up, ask. If you like the short clip, you can catch another one here, or you can catch the full episode right here.